Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pulse of Israel here on our eternal and ancestral homeland, the land of Israel, in our eternal and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. Today, we're talking about the growing Jew hatred.
Police say a Jewish man was the victim of an alleged hate crime. This video appears to show the moment 29-year-old Joey Borgen was attacked.
All of a sudden, I'm surrounded by like a whole mob crowd of people. They proceeded to, obviously assault me, beat me, kick me, punch me, hit me with crutches.
One man is facing multiple charges, including assault as a hate crime. The NYPD says it is looking for as many as 6 others. Borgen says they yelled anti-Semitic slurs while he was being beaten.
You're a dirty Jew, we're going to kill you.
Before I introduce our guest today, if you are not yet a subscriber to our daily videos or podcasts, go to pulseofisrael.com and sign up today for our politically incorrect truth that does not get seen or heard by mainstream media. All right, here we go for today's very important topic. Well, we're all familiar, unfortunately, with the fact that actual acts of violence against Jews, Jew hatred, is on the rise. It's happening. It happened. It's happening. One of the main people on the forefront of the legal battle to fight back against Jew hatred happens to be the founder of the End Jew Hatred movement and the CEO of the Lawfare Project. So everyone say hello to Brooke Goldstein. Shalom, shalom, Brooke. It is wonderful having you on the program again. I'm sorry that it's once again talking about Jew hatred, but you are right now working on a very, very important case that you're bringing to the attention of everyone, especially in the New York area, to be outside of a courthouse this coming Thursday. Please tell us what's going on.
That's right. So first of all, thank you so much for having me, Avi. I'm really grateful. And you mentioned that we are talking again about rising hatred against the Jewish community, which is the oldest, most persecuted minority community in human history. And I never thought I would see the day, honestly, having Holocaust grandparents, that I would be saying that we are witnessing Jews getting beaten up every day on the streets of New York. I never thought this could happen in the United States. So we are having a protest this January 26th outside the New York Supreme Court, which is 100 Center Street. And we're calling it Justice for Joey Borgen, who was viciously beaten up on the streets of New York. And the district attorney is about to cut what they call a sweetheart deal, offering 6 months in jail maximum for an attacker who has said publicly that he had no problem with what he did and he will do it again. And obviously this comes after we heard of Matt Greenman also being beaten up by another so-called pro-Palestinian activist. And it is just happening every day. And so the most important thing is that we demand justice in this case, specifically of Joey Borgen, because the message that the DA's office is sending when they're offering these type of plea deals is that there will be no consequences for unlawful assaults on Jewish people on the streets of New York. This is happening every day. And if there aren't consequences through a court of law, if they're not going to be prosecuted seriously for hate crimes violations, then it's going to be a very scary situation. So I call on everybody in New York, please go to the website justiceforjoey.org. Joey is Joey, justiceforjoey.org. We are calling on everybody to show up this January 26th at 8:30 in the morning on the steps of the courthouse to show solidarity with the victim, but also solidarity with the Jewish cause.
So, Brooke, a couple of questions here. Number one, how is it even possible for there to be such a sweetheart deal of virtually no punishment whatsoever? Like, I can't wrap my head around that. How, and I'm sure others can't either. How is that even possible?
Well, it's entirely up to the district attorney, to the Manhattan district attorney, Alvin Bragg, and he is the one that offered this deal, a lenient 6-month plea deal to the attacker. And this is the right question. Why? Why? We are seeing headlines about rising anti-Semitism. Everybody recognizes that this is a systemic problem. And we also know the history of anti-Semitism and where this leads. And this is the United States of America. We need justice. We need the DA's office to make sure there are consequences for this type of vicious, brutal assault on someone who is Jewish just because they are Jewish. So really, the call is for the Manhattan District Attorney and also Kathy Hochul, the governor, to do something about this, to send the message that the Manhattan DA's office takes this seriously.
So knowing that the deal was made, I just want to give a realistic question. What is actually necessary and how much of a percentage do you really give to it that you will be successful or in having them change that and actually give a proper punishment to send the correct message against the rising acts of hatred against Jews?
You know, that's a really good question. And I am 100% sure that if the Jewish community rallies, if we ignore this, we pretend like it doesn't exist, nobody shows up, nobody cares, the CEOs of major Jewish organizations don't send out press releases, Jewish prosecutors don't express their outrage. If we just turn a blind eye, nothing's going to happen. In fact, this is going to keep happening over and over again. There will be no consequences, and he'll likely be able to enter into this plea deal. But if we unify as a community right now, because it is a pivotal moment, and we mobilize and we get out on the streets and in a peaceful, lawful way, show our support and show our anger and demand that the governor take authority here, all right, and either fire the district attorney or ensure that the perpetrator receives the type of justice that he deserves. If we all get out and demand that I think there will be a seismic shift in the way that the Jewish community as a minority community is viewed as a unified community that's able to mobilize in numbers and in significance. And only then, I think, will we be taken seriously and our rights be taken seriously. And frankly, what I'm saying is, let's take, techniques and strategies out of the playbooks of other minority rights movements. If a Black man was beaten up on the street, if Black men were beaten up every day, all right, which is not happening to any other community except for the Jewish community. If Muslim people were being beaten up on the streets of New York for being Muslim, we would see the type of mobilization that sends a message that there must be consequences. So if the Jewish community mobilizes, I know that we'll be able to achieve the same results as other minority communities have been able to achieve, which is pressure to uphold our basic and civil human rights in a court of law against those who are perpetrators of vicious, violent hate crimes and assaults against our people.
So let me ask the next question, because it obviously sounds like you are calling out the Jewish community and organizations to rally to this cause. Are they not rallying to the cause? Have they?
No, I'm calling on them. I'm calling on them to rally for this cause. And I'm confident that we will, because I believe that everybody in the Jewish community right now is realizing that this is a pivotal moment, whether you're left, whether you're right, whether you're pro-Israel, whether you're whatever, it doesn't matter. The Jewish community is being attacked in the United States. And frankly, this has nothing to do about Israel-Palestine. Politics is often used as an excuse, as an affirmative defense to target someone because of the way they look, because of their ethnic, cultural, or religious identity. And that's what's happening to Jews. And we're making a big mistake when we make this a political issue. I'm really confident that there's now been a turning point. I mean, if you just Google Joey Borgen, the assault is being covered by CNN, by Fox News, by the New York Times. This is major news. And because, in this era now of post-Kanye, that thank God people are starting to express in the media an outrage, and they're starting to recognize what's happening to the Jewish community. The mainstream media is covering this. So now the onus is on us as the Jewish community. When anti-Semitism is front page news in the New York Times, it's being covered on CNN, we must react. We must show our support for the victims of Jew hatred. Otherwise, the message that we're sending the world is that we won't mobilize, that we won't support, and that you can beat us up on the street. The district attorney can offer this sweet deal and there'll be no consequences from the Jewish community. That's an unacceptable message to send. And I think we are now understanding that this apathy and this, turning a blind eye and pretending like, it doesn't exist. I'm on the Upper East Side. This is happening in Brooklyn, or I'm secular. They're just beating up the Orthodox. That's not the case anymore. We realize this, and we cannot turn a blind eye to what is happening in our own backyard.
This sounds like a classic case for the ADL, right? The organization that was set up to fight anti-Semitism in America to take on, and it's a very well-funded organization. Is the ADL on top of this case as well?
You know what? Interesting enough, I just Googled Joey Borgen and ADL, and I don't see anything coming up. And, maybe I'm wrong. I just Googled it. I don't see any type of statement. And unfortunately, I think that the Jewish community can no longer rely on groups like the ADL, who have been totally politicized under its current leadership and more concerned with all lives matter and Jew hatred, combating all forms of hate, including apparently Islamophobia, thereby negating the uniqueness of what's happening to our community and really undermining the mission statement, which should be first and foremost to protect the civil rights of the Jewish community. So I don't see the ADL filing civil rights lawsuits or providing any type of pro bono counsel or financial support to victims like Joey. It is really up to the Jewish community to stand up on a grassroots way. It used to be the case that rising anti-Semitism was happening, it would ebb and flow. And if you wanted to do something about it, write a check to so-and-so major organization and you've done your job, they'll take care of it for you. But we see now with the multi-million-dollar budgets and all of our organizations, we're just not moving the needle because we're not using the strategies, the language, the tools and tactics that work in the 21st century, which is civil rights engagement, mobilization on a grassroots level, finding and empowering local leaders to stand up in their communities to ensure consequences for Jew hatred, writing letters, sending out press releases, telling people how very angry we are at them, and then moving on quickly to whatever the next anti-Semite du jour is not working. So Joey Borgen is right now the most important, I would say, a pivotal moment for the Jewish community to mobilize around. He was, just Google his name and look at the videos. And look what happened to this man, how he was viciously beaten and kicked and hit with metal rods till he lay on the floor bleeding and gasping for air. This is happening to Jews in New York. And if we don't show up on the court steps and we don't send the message to the district attorney that he cannot cut these types of sweetheart plea deals to people who assault the Jewish community, that I don't want to know what the future looks like for us. This is a pivotal moment right now. And everybody, whether you're a member of this organization or that organization, you don't have to be a CEO, you don't have to be a donor. You can do something by just physically showing up at the court steps this January, at the courthouse, this January 26th at 8:30 in the morning. It takes 1 hour of your time. And we need to mobilize and do it, obviously, in a lawful, peaceful way.
So please, God, everyone listening in the New York area is going to try to be in front of that courthouse on Thursday morning. For anyone not in New York, what can they do, Brooke?
So we're working right now on circulating a petition. But again, petitions are not just going to change. We need petitions plus mobilization. I think if we have enough people in prominent positions as well. We're looking for Jewish prosecutors. We're looking for attorneys. Doesn't even have to be Jews. Anyone in the legal field who wants to sign their name to this petition. It will be up on social media soon. You should follow End Jew Hatred on Instagram and on Twitter, and go to the website justiceforjoey.org to find out how you can help, also if you're not specifically in the New York area.
Final question, Brooke. We're talking about this. You're on top of this. You're professionally on top of this, the growth of Jew hatred. What does the future look like for the Jews in America, Brooke?
I think it looks really good, because I am absolutely confident that we will be able to unify and to mobilize. And I think that time has come for history to stop repeating itself. We all recognize this. We have a strong, healthy state of Israel. And I'll say this because it really is the elephant in the room right now. We have to, as Israelis, as Jews, do our best to prevent the type of disunity and destruction of the political system that's happened in the United States and the partisan politics in the Jewish community. We have to stop that from happening in Israel. And a lot of people are talking about Israel's new right-wing government and how giving them an excuse to separate themselves from Israel. I think this is a big mistake. A lot has been written about it. Number one, the outrageous claims about the Supreme Court reforms that are just being used again to incite division within the Jewish community. The calls for violence and the incitement that's happening at these rallies. And then, of course, Israelis have a right to mobilize, and they should. But the reaction of diaspora Jewry, especially former ADL leader Abe Foxman, who went and said publicly that Israel is risking losing his support because Israel is a democracy. Every single democracy in the world has parties who are from the left or from the right or from the center. And every single democracy in the world also has right-wing parties. France has Le Pen, Switzerland has a right-wing party, Germany has a right-wing party, the United States has Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. And you're putting a double standard on the Israeli people that they are not allowed to express themselves through the voting polls and democratically, because you want to threaten and control them from abroad. And it's ironic, all of the complaints from the left of so-called Russian interference in American elections, and yet the Americans, whether they're Jews or even the American government, is intending on interfering with Israeli elections from abroad. If you look at history, right, the government has swayed left, it sways right. We just came from a left-wing government. And if anything, anti-Semitism has risen around the world. So to even tie in the rise of anti-Semitism with the expression of democracy in Israel is false, is a false equation there. So I think that, again, we are at a pivotal moment in the diaspora, that the Jewish community needs to unify across partisan lines, across religious lines, whether you're Reform, secular, Orthodox. It doesn't matter. We're all Jewish. And when one of them has been beaten up, we have to ensure consequences. And we must also rally to support the democratic system in the state of Israel and the plurality of opinions on all sides, and not allow this issue now to start dividing us even further.
That's a fabulous point, Brooke. And just to end, to give people even deeper perspective, since you opened up that very important issue, everyone, just like in America with the media, we can't always trust the media and the craziness that they make things, the extreme craziness they paint issues at. Here in Israel, many of the people today being quoted as calling out against the judicial reforms of this right-wing government, they themselves supported changes to the judicial reform years ago. Past chief of staff.
A complicated issue,
right?
So what bothers me is the boiling down of this issue to some sort of black and white thing to incite people to hatred and to go on the streets to protest. And frankly, half the people don't even know what they're protesting.
Right.
All right. You can,
Right.
if you sat down and said, well, what are the judicial reforms being made and why exactly are you against them? And actually, a lot has been written by Eugene Kontorovich, and Josh Hammer just published an excellent article in Newsweek.
Yep.
If you're really interested in debating and talking about judicial reforms, let's do it. The way that change is made is in a democracy, obviously, is by mobilization. And again, Israeli citizens have every right to get out on the street and to mobilize. What I am protesting against is using the expression of democracy, whether it's through the polls or mobilization on the streets, to then vilify the state of Israel and to excuse anti-Semitism and double standards. That is what I'm protesting against. But I think it's very healthy because now we are being forced into having this discussion that I hope remains at an intellectual level and not a screaming match. But what judicial reforms have to be made in Israel? There has to be made some reforms here. A lot of people agree, from left or right, that the Supreme Court is highly politicized. And so it's about time that we have those types of discussions about how to create the types of checks and balances in Israel, the way that we see in other democracies. Democracies evolve over time. That is the whole point and beauty of living in a system where you can make change, not with guns, but you make change through the polls, from voting and through dialogue and through civil litigation and through mobilization. It's actually a really beautiful thing that's happening right now. So I'm just warning against turning what is a beautiful national debate, really, and a healthy one, into something that radicalizes and polarizes the population, and the way that we see the playbook happening, unfortunately, in the United States.
Very well stated, as usual. Brooke Goldstein, thank you so much. Everyone in New York, go show up Thursday morning in front of the courthouse, 8:30 in the morning, you said?
Yes, 8:30 this Thursday, January 26th. Go to justiceforjoey.org. Please.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Avi.
All right, Brooke, keep up the wonderful and very important work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That was Brooke Goldstein of the Lawfare Project, founder of the End Jew Hatred Project. If you're in New York and you're able to show up in front of the courthouse, go. You're not in New York, help get more people to know about this issue. Share this video, share the website, Justice for Joey. Important issue, very important issue. And the most important thing is educating everyone around, and especially the leaders around you, so hopefully they can take action. It's not just action and justice for Joey, it's justice for the whole Jewish community in America and abroad. But again, the Jews are always the canary in the coal mine. If everyone is silent about the growing Jew hatred against Jews, well, that hatred and violence will also spread to other communities as well. So even if you're not Jewish and you care about your safety, stand up strongly against the growing Jew hatred and violence against Jews today. Signing off for another episode of the Pulse of Israel here in our eternal and ancestral homeland, the land of Israel, in our eternal and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's times. Thanks for watching, everyone. Shalom.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.